Right. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the state of Texas. Good morning to the great country of the United States. Good morning to where? The world. How is everybody doing this morning? We are going to have a great show for you today. It's Thursday. If it's Thursday, it's Neil Aquino Day. We discuss both local and national politics. But before we even get started, folks, let's throw it back to the geniuses in the control room, El Señor Howard Reynolds and Jacques Van Beber. Good morning, mis hermanos.
Well, good morning, Egberto. Sounds like you're going to have an exciting show. There's lots of local politics to discuss this morning after the election this week. So it should be interesting.
Yes, it should be interesting. It should be interesting, local and national. And how is Jack doing? What's the message of the day, Jack?
Well, I got a little thing from my friend Brett that sends me stuff. Uh, Sometimes the answer to your prayers comes when you are busy being the answer to someone else's prayers. Give of your heart, see what happens.
Oh, nice. Like that.
Profound.
Okay, yeah, my friend sends me affirmations sometimes, and sometimes they make a lot of sense. So, and Howard, we've been promoted to geniuses again.
Oh, we have?
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
Okay.
The
you
two
have all
janitors
kind of
down here.
adjectives, and they're all positives, my brother. You know why? Because that's who you guys are. Anyway, I think all the strings are connected, all the tin cans are hooked up to the strings, and the
Yes.
vibration is passing on through. Anyway, folks, we have a great show for you today. Title of the show is GOP Thinks Democracy is the Enemy. And you know what's so interesting, folks? We have it on tape. Wow. Sometimes I really wonder sometimes when some of these politicians say something. And I'm not talking about just your average politician that is prone to mistakes, but I'm talking about a seasoned politician. When they say certain things, I think it's important for us to listen. And when we have evidence throughout the last several years, folks, you've got to listen. That's why some of what we're going to talk about, democracy today, with Neil Aquino, is going to be so important. So we have Aquino who is going to talk Houston election, national election, maybe a little bit about the debate. I don't know. We'll see about that. Anyway, welcome to Politics Done Right. If it's Thursdays, we have our visitor, Neil Aquino. How you doing, Neil?
I'm doing visitor from another world, and Neil Aquino. Good morning, everyone across the world, and it's great to be here again this Thursday morning.
Well, it's great having you, and it's great. Especially since it's the Thursday after the election. But before we get started, I say a welcome to Gene Daigle, who says, "When someone says something, believe them." And folks, don't forget, this is your program, this is your show. So give us a call at 713-526-5738. I repeat, 713-526-5738. Why do you want to call? I want to hear about anything you want to talk about because this is your show. But I know, let's go ahead and get started with the local Houston election. Then we'll kind of expand it a bit nationally after that. So, folks, this show is for everybody. Tune in. Your thoughts. Let's get started with the big race, and the big race was the mayoral race. What are your thoughts on that?
Great. Well, the mayoral race, it was as expected, right? We have a Whitmire, Sheila Jackson Lee runoff, and Whitmire ended up at 43%, Sheila at just under 35%, and I think one of the things, a headline of that race was the low turnout overall. It was about 17 or 18% in the city. It was just 17% in Whitmire's district, Senate District 15, and about 15% in Sheila Jackson Lee's district. So I think one thing that speaks to is both candidates are long-time elected officials, and neither candidate has helped build a culture or structure of apparatus of voting in their district, and neither candidate was able, with the folks who might know them best, able to rally out a big turnout. So a bit of an indictment on both. Even though I think prefer Jackson Lee over Whitmire, but that larger factor is there.
It is disappointing because I tell you one thing. Um, Normally, when you have these races, and I don't know if they're waiting for the runoff, they assume it's going to be a runoff, so maybe they didn't want to invest all their time, given that they were pretty darn sure that both of them would come out ahead. But I tell you, I don't know if you saw, I don't know how the ballot was in your district, but the ballot for people voting in District E for was horrendous. You had to page yourself to vote for Sheila Jackson Lee,
Right.
and
Yeah.
it wasn't the easiest thing to do. So a lot of her drop off, I wonder if it had to do with people didn't find her name in the list. I'm not talking about the low turnout. I'm talking about the disparity, the 10 or 11 points or so that, well, Whitmire is 45, right?
She lost. No, Whitmire's 43.
43.
She lost by
Mm.
8.25%. I think it looks like. So there were 18 candidates on the ballot, and by
Right,
the luck of the draw, she was 16th. So they kept going saying, "Sweet 16, look for 16."
right.
But we're democracy advocates here, so we want to believe that the people had the ability to scroll to
Yeah.
that second page. We want to have
I,
faith that the
I tell you what, let me tell you, I'm a voter. I vote every single time, and for me, I voted for Sheila Jackson Lee,
right.
and I don't know. I think we use the same equipment all throughout Harris County.
Yeah, it was all of us the same.
Yeah, and I just kind of like when I saw that before I saw the scroll thing, I kind of looked around and I said, oh, because I knew who I was voting for,
Right.
but my thing is there are a lot of voters out there that don't quite have it in their head who they're voting for, and
Right.
until they see that list of people there, they say, ah, the Sheila Jackson Lee name sound familiar. That's who I'm voting for. That's who I'm not voting for.
Let me tell you, I was at West Gray, and so one thing, we talked a little about this morning, that before we came on, that there were 248,000 persons,
Hmm.
folks voted in the mayoral race total for all the 18 candidates. Um, and in the at-large council races, the 5 at-large council races, each of them had about 197,000 votes. So we had not just a low turnout. A fifth of the voters, for whatever reason, they just came in and voted for mayor or left. Some of the propositions had a higher A, which now allows 3 council members to bring an agenda to the council agenda, bring an item to the council agenda, which was a victory for democracy. It
Explain
diminishes
why we're a strong mayor city. That is the
right. We're a
reason
very
why.
strong mayor city. Mayor appoints committee chairs. The composition of committees can introduce items to the agenda. So now any 3 council members can introduce an item to the agenda. So what's incumbent upon us, because there will be 3 or 4 Republicans on council, so they're going to be hatching all that up. So what's incumbent upon us is that we now have the capacity, and you as a citizen have the capacity, to ask them to introduce progressive measures to council. And that's super important, because you call them and they say, oh, I can't put that on the agenda. It's up to the
Because
mayor. It's up to the
they could
mayor.
stand behind
Yeah,
the mayor and say the mayor is not going to do it.
not
But
anymore.
now there's no excuse. So I mean, this is
No.
democracy in action. So I mean, for our audience out there, that is an important thing for them to realize now, that their council person now has a third of, or rather, I should say, a third of the power now to get any bill on. So you get 3 of them. You can get your at large, your local, and team up with somebody else to get something done. It is
Yes.
absolutely possible.
And let me make a plug for myself. A lot of this is discussed on the Houston Democracy Project. The Houston Democracy Project. You can Google it or go to neilaquino.com, NeilaQuino.com, the Houston Democracy Project. There's a front page, a daily blog, and this is the Houston Democracy Project segment here. Please give it a look and read the content and share it along.
Well, I think that's important because I mean, when you take a look at the outcome of this election, I can't tell you how disappointed I am with the amount of people that vote. What was it? What was the total percentage vote this time around
It was 17 in the county, and it seems to have been pretty much the same in the
in
city.
the
And there
city?
were important county issues. One of the big loss was the Cypress Fairbanks School District, which is one of the 50 largest districts in the country. It had been 4-3, not crazy, and now it's 6-1. Ted Cruz, Greg Abbott candidates, and that's a big district
Wait,
and an
wait,
exceptionally
hold on.
diverse one.
I didn't follow that storyline.
Yeah,
Are you telling me that the right wing has taken over the Cyprus?
yeah,
Oh my,
yeah.
I didn't know that. That actually bucks the entire nation because what occurred on Tuesdays is from the top all the way down to school districts, the right wing lost. I'm surprised that happened here in Cypresswood. I mean
Not here.
Cypress.
Yeah, and this is and so I know as 7 or 8 years ago that was the 50th largest school district in the country. It's much of unincorporated Harris County. I worked in
Right.
that area for many years, and it is a diverse, super diverse area. And I will say that I was for some years a manager at the Barnes and Noble out there in Cyprus, and I would the reading list was super diverse.
Right.
It was Howard Zinn and basically a liberal reading list in many
Right.
respects, the usual Ayn Rand book. And now, just to give you a sense of the real world changes, you can bet that that's going to change. And those kids, that's how they were exposed to it. And that's a super diverse district. There needs to be more turnout. And State Representative John Rosenthal, to his credit, and I want to mention this because one of the things of the Houston Democracy Project is that I want Democrats to actively campaign for races outside of their own. And Rosenthal really did, state representative, did campaign for that. Unfortunately, it wasn't successful, but it's one of the biggest losses
Now,
of the.
were all these races close or they weren't close at all?
I don't know that,
Okay.
uh, but it went from 4-3 normal people to 6-1 Abbott, and it bucked the trend of Moms for Liberty candidates losing in school races all around.
Yeah, I mean, people have to wake up. Gene Daigle says, well follows a pattern over the west side of the county. Look at KDISD and their school board, MAGA extremists running the show,
Uh-huh.
all because of the low turnout.
Yes.
We have got to solve that low turnout problem, and I mean, that's what we try to do here as well, to try to get people to go out there and vote. Now, I think given the passion that I have for economic justice, etc., the one that got me the most was the wealth tax. I think it was Proposition 3. And I want everybody to listen to this because even though we failed here, it is something that we need to pick up at some other time. Good morning, Alistair Waters. So we have Eric Hayes, Gene Daigle, and Alistair Waters on the chat. Folks, give us a call, 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. You have the ability to discuss whatever you want to discuss, or if you want
Yeah.
to change a subject, you can change the subject as well. And this is important, what I'm going to talk about, and that is the wealth tax. Um, the bill, or rather the proposition, pretty much prohibits your elected representatives. Listen well. And this is where I think a lot of people didn't understand this. The proposition tells prohibits your elected representatives from applying a wealth tax to wealthy people
Mm-hmm.
to for school boards, for schools, and all these kinds of things. In other words, they can't tax them without coming back for a constitutional amendment to do so. But what that means is the following, folks. For any of you who thought you were voting for, I don't want to vote for taxes that's on my assets. What you've really done is you've harmed the middle class and the poor, etc. Because guess who pays wealth tax right now? every middle class person that owns a home, every middle class person that rents an apartment, every middle class person or poor that also owns a car. I'm coming to you right now, Ray. Any one of you folks out there that owns a house and you're paying taxes every single year, known as property taxes, guess what that is, my friend? That is a wealth tax. But it's a wealth tax not for the rich. Yes, everybody pays a property tax. But that wealthy person who owns stocks, which most poor people, at least 50% or more, have no stocks. For that person who owns stocks or certain types of assets, they get to have those assets grow tax free. And what you are saying when you voted for that is I am going to put myself at a disadvantage to wealthy people. Not only do wealthy people not pay a wealth tax on those stocks, but let's take it a bit further. Their tax rate on the income on those stocks are taxed at a lower rate than your wages, people. So the way your politicians screw us all is they tag things, they make you vote on things that you believe is going to help you as well. But what you have done is really give rich people yet another break, as all new expenses for the state will be paid for by whom? You.
And let me say that in our county, our Democratic county, 62% of the people voted for banning that wealth tax. So folks really, and we have such informed listeners here. So when you're out there voting and you know it, you got to share it with someone you know this is crazy.
It is crazy when Eric says stocks are not tangible. Neither is your home, Eric Hayes. You are paying a tax on your home for a value you don't know you're going to get if you sell your home. So your home is just as intangible as the stocks until it is sold. So that blows your argument. Let's go ahead to Ray, Third Ward. Come on in, my brother. How are you doing, sir?
Buenos dias, buenos dias.
Buenos dias, hermano. Talk to me.
Yeah, shout out to Mr. Aquino for the Houston Democracy Project.
Good morning.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what y'all say, and what I feel is gonna have to be the solution to this problem is I get a lot of text messages on the day of the election, and what we need to do is push for people planning to vote, and that's something I feel is very paramount. When you plan to vote, you go into the voting booth with confidence and knowledge because you already know. See, a person who goes to a voting booth and doesn't know how to read those propositions, doesn't know how to read those constitutional amendments, of course, they're going to vote how they think they want that law to fall. And unfortunately, with this particular proposition or constitutional amendment, people were probably misled to think that it would make their taxes go up. But that's where we as activists have to take upon ourselves, like Neil said, if you know what it really means, you need to spread the knowledge because, you know, and the same thing with Sheila Jackson Lee. I mean, if she was on the second page, which I think she was, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
You know, hopefully that won't be an issue in the runoff. You know, obviously it'll just be two candidates. But, you know, if people would just plan to vote, it cuts your time down, you know, tremendously. Like if you just know who you're going to vote for, you just, like I had actually made a cheat sheet when I went to vote. I went to vote on the first day of early voting. And I sat there for a few hours and I had to like look up different articles and different things that were posted on TV to kind of help break down what are these amendments, but that's because I was personally invested in
Right.
making sure I voted correctly. But how do we get our fellow voters and progressive-minded people who don't know it yet to get on that level?
Well, I think, and look, we had the president of the Humble Area Democrats. I'm a member of the Humble Area Democrats and the Kingwood Area Democrats. So I went out there to the Humble Area Democrats to listen to one of the representatives. I forgot her name now, but she came out and we went through all of the
It was Penny
propositions.
Shaw, wasn't it, at that
Penny's,
meeting?
yeah, Penny, yeah, Penny.
Yeah. Oh,
Penny came out and we went over all the different propositions. But I tell you where I think we all failed, and I'm talking about activists failed. I went to vote with my daughter at the place, and you would see every person that you can probably assume is a Republican. Sometimes you shouldn't assume, but
right.
given the area that I vote, I think it was a good assumption. They all had a cheat sheet. I went in without a cheat sheet, but I knew the material. But as an activist, I think we should have worked harder in giving cheat sheets to people. Let them know, well, if you want the progressive candidates that we've vetted, this is what it looks like.
Well, let me talk about that for a second, because I'm
And
looking at
Steve, we're coming to you after Ray. Go ahead,
very
Neil.
quickly, so we can get to the caller. I'm looking at the Harris County Republican website, and so it's a sheet of paper. It was always a white sheet of paper for your home printer. This was West Gray Multi-Service Center. Tons of people, and the Republican Party has a guide. The Harris County Republican Party had the guide, and people were coming in with that. They were coming in
And
with
we
it.
don't, and there's no guide on the left side, right?
And part of the problem is that the Harris County Republican Party only nominated 4 candidates. We had more candidates. There's all sort, the party can't take a preference, so they're probably a
Right.
little hesitant to wade in. But there's got to be a way around that to at least say these are the Democrats at the very least.
Well, I mean, I think that is exactly what you should, or these are. I don't want to just come out and say these are the Democrats. I want to come out and say, because theoretically speaking, these are nonpartisan elections. You and I know better, and Ray know
Right.
better. But we
Right.
should come out and have a sheet that say these are the acceptable candidates. And when there's a possibility that a split vote can hurt you, I think the activist community should take a position to try to avoid that somebody splitting a vote could bring the wrong person in, as occurred in Conchita's race.
Yeah, and those 4 side-fair candidates we talked about, they are right front and center on the Harris County Republican website.
Exactly. Anyway, Ray, anything else you want to add before we go to Steve?
Yeah, I want to quickly say for Joe Biden losing all of his popularity right now.
Mm-hmm.
In another scenario, if the country doesn't like Joe Biden, we should, load up the House and the Senate with progressives, and whoever is president, challenge them from the left. That's my solution.
I agree with you. First of all, Ray, I agree with you 100%. I think if in the next few weeks, it seems like his popularity is going completely against what the country is doing, because the country is voting left. Take a look at the election. I mean, that's why I was so surprised when Neil informed me about what occurred in Cyprus, and when Deigel informed me about Katie, because the rest of the country, school boards have been turning over. They've been going right for the last several years. This election, they went left, the school boards. Now, but what you said is accurate, and I think it's a responsibility of Biden, if there are good numbers that show, look, look, the guy. A lot of people, I think, are voting because of how he looks. He looks pretty old, and somebody vibrant. I'm going to tell you something else. I'm not sure that Trump is going to be the nominee for the Republicans. More and more, I'm thinking that not may be the case, that he may not be the nominee. I know it's against what most people believe, but that's what I'm starting to think. Ray, I agree with what you said. Thank you so kindly for calling in, my brother.
All right, brother. I'll be listening.
Have a good one. All right, let's go to Steve. Come on in, Steve.
Hey, good morning, Brother Neil and Brother Egberto.
How you doing, sir?
Oh, doing good. So I had an interesting experience. So on the voting, it took me 2 pages to scroll down for Sheila Jackson Lee.
Right.
Whitmire was on the second one.
Right.
Uh, and then so yeah, I think that plays a part, but in the runoff, it may not. The other thing was Whitmire had door knockers come by. I didn't see any Sheila Jackson Lee, and I guess there was more money on the Whitmer side. I was
Right.
wondering, Neil, if that'll change, can she make up the gap? Does Whitmire still have the advantage? And then runoffs. Is there a runoff for the controller, or was that actually won?
Right. So in
Like,
terms of the money advantage, stays, I think that money advantage does stay with Whitmire, but now it's a two-person focused race. That number 16 placement of the 18 mayoral candidates was a roll of the dice. They, by chance, assigned the ballot order. That was for everyone across the entire city. Now it will just be 1 and 2. We have to believe that Representative Jackson Lee can win, and I do believe that she can win. Um, with the controller race, there were 4 candidates, and the runoff will be between Chris Hollins, who had 44% of the vote, and Orlando Sanchez, who was a scoundrel, got 27% of the vote. And it will be a runoff between the two. Chris Hollins has been one of the most aggressive candidates to talk about democracy and voting rights. And I like it because he's expanding the role and purview of controller. In a way that you will hear if you listen to Lena Hidalgo or Christian Menefee, the county attorney. They will say, I'm expanding the role of what these offices do. And it is good to have smart, vibrant folks,
Young.
young, changing. I was going to say that, but I don't want to, I want to keep my own ability in there. But and another runoff race I want to emphasize is Letitia Plummer in Council at Large 4, who's been a very effective councilwoman, and she only got 47%. There was no reason on earth for her not to get to 50% to avoid the runoff, and that's a very important one. Share it with your friends. Letitia Plummer, 47%. We need to get her to win that runoff against a much weaker opponent.
Steve?
Got you. Thanks. Oh, go ahead, Egberto.
No, I wanted to know if there's anything else anything else you wanted to ask or any other comments you wanted to make.
Yeah, one more thing. So when the representative for Whitmire came out, they were doing targeted, so they know your name obviously from all the data, and so they're collecting data. So they're like, okay, are you voting for Whitmire? I'm like, no, and then they're like, okay, we've got 12 things that you want to. Please pick one. What's important to you, but. Nothing about education was on there. The closest thing they had was like libraries. It was everything kind of skewed towards crime and potholes. Kind of let me know what he cared about.
Yeah. Well, the teacher is endorsed. I'm sorry. What'd you say, please?
Oh, just your thoughts on that.
Oh, please. Yes, sir. The teachers union, endorsed Representative Jackson Lee. I hope they're aggressively out there. You kept seeing the firefighters union had these big block walks. How many doors they knocked, I don't know. But the firefighters for Whitmire, and regretfully, some of the other unions for Whitmire were consistently having block walks. And he had the resources for a lot of paid block walkers, and we want our block walkers to be paid. Frank, that's an important theme I consistently hit. That people need to be paid for this work. And if you're working for John Whitmire, who has 12 million, get your money. So hopefully that Representative Jackson Lee and this two-person, I just got to hope that they were waiting for the resources. Well, you're saying that you saw a lot more of the Whitmire campaign than the Jackson Lee campaign. That was a lot true. That was true for many people. And in my home, I saw a lot more mailers for Gilbert Garcia than I did for Representative Jackson Lee. And he ended up in third place with 7%, spending a lot of his own money, which is now out in the wind with 7%.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It seems to me like if you take a look at how his commercials went, he knocked career politicians, but he didn't put Jackson Lee's picture in it while he put Whitmire's picture in it. So that was kind of interesting to see how the recommendations are going to come now. Let's see who the people who lost are going to recommend at this point.
Gilbert really
I,
had the capacity as a new name and with money to add something different or new. He just frequently went down the same crime stuff,
yeah.
although he clearly didn't like Whitmire, and it was I don't know what he was doing. It was a bummer.
Well, I mean, again, we have a tendency. When I say we, I'm talking about many of the not progressive, the moderates have a tendency to run as Republican with Republican talking points. I have no idea why they would think that would work when progressive talking points bring in both Democrats and Republicans because those are policies middle class folk want. It's so hard to get past. And I think I understand why, Steve. I think it's because most of the consultants are pretty wealthy folk.
Just what I was going
Okay.
to say.
And they just don't understand the grassroots, the average American citizen, whether Democrat or Republican. And
Right.
that is much of what I've been writing about recently. Get rid of the consultants, go to the masses.
And it's a business model. Why?
Yeah.
I mean, like look what happened when they changed the formula for Coke, right? Well, new Coke.
Yeah.
Well, they got a business model. Why mess with it? It's working for them, not for us.
Yes. Exactly. Anyway, Steve, anything else before I go to Gonzalo?
Oh no, thanks. I really appreciate it. I was starting to hear like a whole bunch more women call in. I think the show's like really ramping up. So thanks,
Oh
Alberto.
yeah,
Thank
and
you.
thank you so kindly, Steve. And I was about to forget to do a big thank you to all. I'm coming to you, Gonzalo. To give a big thank you to all our donors. And yes, you're correct about women. We had a lot of women donors. We had a lot of men donors for the Politics Done Right show. And I want to thank you all. I'm going to list your name and I'm going to make a personal video for you guys who contributed to Politics Done Right, or rather, the KPFT in the name of Politics Done Right. We exceeded what we needed to raise for this particular show and I could not thank you enough. So you can rest assured that for at least this quarter, Politics Done Right will be on air. So and it's only because of you, all of you that are listening right now. I cannot tell you, my heart bleeds with thanks to all of you. Gonzalo, come on in.
Yes, good morning, Egberto.
Buenos
How are
días,
you?
hermano. ¿Cómo estás?
I'm glad. First of all, thank you for all the interesting feedback I got from all of the callers and you and the other guy. I don't recall his name.
Neil
I
Aquino. Neil
voted for
Aquino.
Sheila, so I'm glad that Mr. Aquino. I'm glad that Sheila is going to go to the runoff. I voted for her. I think she's as an Afro-American and Democrat, she will put our name high. However, about the propositions, it's true. I didn't bring my cheat sheet. You didn't, and many of the voters didn't know what they were talking about in some of the propositions. The ones that I remember I voted no was for the expansion of the high-speed highway.
Mm-hmm.
I just said to myself, hell no, no way. That's something that we should not vote for because there is nothing there that says we voted for the expansion of the rail or we voted for the expansion of a train to commute from Acadia or from other places. Are we going to vote for another 99 or for another Beltway 80 that we see people bumper to bumper in rush hours? That's insane. And I agree with you. Some of the propositions were kind of tricky to me, maybe because I didn't do the homework and look for information about those. My mistake, and guess many of the voters were there not ready to vote. So we went to the STAR test without getting the test prep. And at least I felt some of the things.
Gonzalo, you're right. And I think those of us that are activists, both myself and Neil, we tried a bit, but I think we have to do better. I think we have not that we have to do better. We have to do a lot better. We have to use our programs. We have to use our avenues, etc., our platforms to really get valid, correct, truthful information out. Otherwise, otherwise we get elections like this, either no participation or I tell you something that made my day. I went to vote with my daughter, and my daughter came out of there and she said, "Dad, some of those things I had no idea." And I said, "What did you do?" And she said, "If I didn't know what I was doing, I didn't vote." And I thought for a while, and I said to myself, that is probably the best thing, because you don't want to unduly change the balance of vote in that manner, right? I remember back when I voted multi-party. In other words, I would vote the candidate that I wanted, and it was always progressive, right? But when I didn't know a candidate or whatever, I never wanted to just say, if you're a Democrat, I'm simply going to vote for you. I wanted a fight. I wanted, and I would, it was a time when it was okay to choose other parties. And I would go eeny, miny, mo for the candidates I didn't know. And it was okay because you got a bunch of different options, right? And I'm gonna make a confession. There is a District 2 Republican. I've been king with a very, very long time, that I actually voted Republican, and he was a good guy. He did good for the criminal justice system then, and he gave a lot of folks that otherwise would have been thrown out the door. He gave them an option, so he earned my vote. But I couldn't do that now because of where the parties have gone. Gonzalo, oh wait, before I say anything, I want to see if my brother Aquino has anything to add to that.
Well, let me say, very quickly, the only of the 14 state propositions, and this has some relevance for Joe Biden, the only state proposition to fail expanded the age by which judges can serve. I think it was to 79. So
Yeah,
people didn't want that. Some good news was our hospital bond, the only county issue, passed 72-28. So good for the people. And then we have to give a shout out to, in the other, we talked about Proposition A, which allowed council members to
to
introduce
vote.
things.
Yeah,
Proposition B, which was another democracy expanding effort, will allow is supposed to allow. There's going to be a court fight. There's a lot of litigation and action ahead, but made clear that the people of Houston, by a 65-35 margin, want better representation on our regional transportation uh, council, and to have a voice in those kind of freeway expansion,
which they should.
endless issues that the caller's saying he hates correctly.
Let's go ahead. Thank you very much for that, Aquino. Senor Aquino. Let's go to Gonzalo. I need to go to Melissa. Anything else you want to say real quickly?
Right. Have a wonderful day, and thanks Aquino for the clarification.
Yeah, hey, you do the same thing. Nosotros hablamos español, so whenever we see Aquino, we say Aquino because that's what you do in Spanish, right?
I'm a son of Italy.
Hey, hey, look, you're messing with us, Mr. Aquino. Brother Neil. All right, let's go to Melissa. Thank you for calling, Gonzalo. Melissa, come on in, my dear friend.
Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Alberto. Good morning, panel. Today is not a good day for me. It's a very bad day, but everything
What's
happens
wrong?
for me. It's okay. So I can't even talk about it without you only got so much time. Anyway.
Okay.
So the ballot now. When I went in to vote, what I don't understand is, since there was so many things on the ballot, why couldn't we bring in our phones or use our, I know you have to turn it on silent, but when it came to propositions, the link that you sent me to find out what it actually means, because it was worded so crazy. I appreciate that link, because that was great. If everybody was to just go on that link and look at what you were voting for before you went, but no one has time to do that. So I don't see why you use your phone to make sure that you're picking the right candidate that's for you, or the right option, yes or no, for a ballot. There's very important issues that was voted for this term. So
Melissa, you are right, so right, and I'm going to partially take blame as well, because you actually sent me an email and asked about these propositions, and I sent you the link for that gave explanations. But here's the issue. And I take blame for, I have a huge mailing list, okay? And I, for some not thinking reason, your email should have triggered me to send that out to everybody, and it didn't. That sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees,
No.
so
Yeah. Look, my little story before I get off the phone. I went in and I put everything on silent. When it came to the propositions, I pulled out my phone. And I'm not being racist, bro. But listen, there was 2 Ukrainians on the side of me, one on each side. I'm like, how in the hell do you get to vote when you don't even know the situation here in Houston? So who are you voting for? But anyway, that's besides the point. The lady comes behind me and says, "Oh, put away your phone." I said, "I just need to find out about this proposition." "No, you can't use your phone." I said, "Get from me. Get from me for $5 feet. If that's out the door, then get out the door. But get from me. Tell me I can't read." I'm sorry. I'm fancy. Thank you. Have a good.
Okay, wait, Melissa. Let me just. I want to admonish you for one thing. If the Ukrainian is a citizen, leave the Ukrainian
Yes.
alone, my
Leave them
sister.
alone.
Okay?
I know.
Come
But
on.
God,
Hey, between
not
look,
here.
you are my
Okay.
sister. We have to be the same. Come on now. All right, my dear beautiful sister. All right,
All
let's
right.
go.
Hey.
You have a great day, girl. Bye-bye. Let's go to the other line is going to come up in a minute. But yet, Neil, I'm with her. Okay, I think it's important for us to be able to use new technology. I'm sorry. I found it ridiculous that you couldn't do that.
I'll be honest. I don't know the rationale for why they don't allow that. Maybe they're concerned that people will take pictures of other. Of course, given in this atmosphere, what one could see someone saying, "Hey, I don't like the looks of that voter," or "Hey, you know,
But it makes no
what."
sense because I can come with the glasses on that has cameras in it. I used to when I was doing a whole lot of investigative type stuff at these rallies, I would go with my glasses on that have the camera in it, and I get a good 640 by 480 film with audio and everything, and nobody had a clue.
Oh, okay, well, I don't have I haven't bought mine yet, but the
You need
I,
one, Neil.
I but I do think some states do have explanations actually on their
Hmm.
ballot. I think out in the West Coast, the complaint is that then that slows it down. I think yes, activists and everyone need to get the word out, but in
Yeah.
the end, you got to be ready when you get in there.
And we need to again let's take our responsibility as activists. We need to do a better job. I'm ready to take that responsibility. Like I just told Melissa, I should have sent that to the entire mailing list. Harry, come on in.
Oh, good morning, Roberto. Good morning, Howard and Jack, and good morning to Neil Aquino. Well, I was going to say that if black people, brown people, yellow people, white people, if you want Sheila Jackson Lee as your next mayor, make sure you listen to her messages over these next few weeks and get out there and vote if you want her to be the mayor of Houston. As Roberto said earlier, you've got to turn out if you want if you want the person you voted for to win. So you just get out there and vote.
Thank you very much, my dear Harry. Anything else you want to say, Harry, before we jump to Alistair?
Well, I'll just touch on this a little bit. Well, I talked about it on UTalk yesterday. Well, Joe Biden, like I said, you got to talk with Benjamin Netanyahu, and you've got to get a ceasefire because your presidency to get reelected is in trouble because there are a lot of angry people in this country who do not want to continue to see innocent Palestinians killed. And Rashida Tlaib, every time I hear her talk or I hear something about her, and Ilhan Omar consoling her, it just hurts me.
I did.
And
Let me just tell you, Harry. I need to cut you for a second here. I did a piece on Rashida Tlaib. Please check it out at the website egbertowillis.com. Anyway, folks, Harry, I need to go to Alistair, and then we'll talk later. I appreciate you calling in every day, my brother. Thank you.
Right.
All right, let's go to Alistair. Come on in, my sister Alistair, Conroe, Texas. Come on in, beautiful.
Hey, good morning. Egberto, good morning, Neil.
Morning.
I just gotta say, one reason why they won't let people bring their electronic devices in, it's control. Just like the same reason they won't put same-day registration.
Right.
Other states have done it and have less voter fraud, quote unquote,
Or online registration, and even
fraud and stuff like that, or
Exactly.
even online registration. Exactly, and they make it impossible for people with disabilities to get a mail-in ballot.
Right.
And the reason they do this is because they know it benefits the people, and they don't want us to have a voice.
Exactly.
We don't have a seat at the table. We don't
Well,
have
you know
a seat
what,
at the table.
Alyssa, that's why we're here. That's why
We
we're
need to
fighting
change
it.
that.
Yeah. That's why we're fighting it, sis. And that's why we're all here. Anything else you want to add, Alyssa, before I
Yeah.
jump to Peter?
No, all good. All is good. I am praying for Sister Melissa that her day turns out better than what it started out
Well,
with.
we want to give her positive affirmations because, like I tell the PDR posse all of the time, we are family. What are we? We are family. All right.
We are
Thank you,
family.
Alistair. Let's go to Peter. Come on in, Peter, line 1. Come on in, brother.
Outstanding. And good morning, Egberto and Mr. Aquino. How y'all doing today? You doing all right?
Good morning, please.
Yes, sir. Talk to me, Peter.
Outstanding. So, yeah, I was there on Tuesday. I was actually in your neck of the woods up there in the Kingwood Community Center and our district, too, because that's where I'm seeking to serve our community. And just quick, what I observed was I was out there with Dr. Jack Christie, who got a whopping 6.9% of the vote. And what I didn't see was anybody representing Sheila Jackson Lee. So that was just my point. I mean, I like her, honestly. She's very well spoken and she's got great policies, like you were referencing one of the callers about education. And the only thing I'll just contrast is, of course, Whitmire, he had people out there. So I think he has the enthusiasm and actually people willing to, step outside of their comfort zone and actually represent him. And I can tell you, I think he's kind of a nitwit. Like, he's not very smart. Like, just reading what he's written. I'm a English teacher, and so I'm Peter Filler. If he wants, someone to help him,
Right.
craft this actually is logical.
Well,
I'm available. Thank you.
I hear you, Peter. I wouldn't call him a nitwit. I think he's a good politician. I don't want to discount that he's just not a progressive politician. I think he's a good politician. I mean, he lasted as long as he did, but again, so I don't like calling somebody like him a nitwit, but that's okay. Look,
Right.
That's your call.
Thanks, guys. Yeah.
All right, man. Thank you, Peter. You have a good one. Got to go to, let's see, Derek. Come on in, Derek. And we have a lot of calls, so I want to be short with folks, so please don't hold it against me. Come on in, Derek.
Hey, good morning, Roberto.
Good morning, my brother. Talk to me.
Man, I just want to say, man, a lot of people, they just fail in their memory. And, I think you probably need to start taking some ginkgo biloba or something. But 35 years, Sheila Jackson Lee have been serving Houston. 35 years, Roberto.
Mm-hmm.
So in their 35 years, that means she went through Clinton, she went through Bush, she went through Obama, and the city of Houston have not suffered financially for the things that she fought for us. And even though 7% did not vote for her, I want you all to remember who got you the money during Hurricane Katrina. It was not those other politicians. It was Sheila Jackson Lee. And many of you who have forgotten what she done, think again. Thanks,
Derek,
brother.
Thank you for calling and thank you for making that statement. I want to let the audience know I agree with you, and I'm sure that Neil Aquino agrees with you as well. But I got to jump to, let's get to Kurt. Come on in, Kurt, line number 3.
Hey, how you doing, Humberto and Jack?
I'm doing fine, sir. Talk to me.
This is my problem. I've been voting, and I live right a little past Greensport, and we have voted for every election, and our zip code still say Houston and 77090. And the other day they only let us vote on the propositions, And it's a whole bunch of people. They're upset at that. But how can they change? How can we not be included in voting on the mayor of Houston? And our address is in Houston.
And you know what? That is. I think they need to change that. If you're not in the city of Houston, they should call you something. They should call it something else. I agree with you 100%. But what happened is you are not within the city limits of Houston. You don't pay Houston taxes, so it's not a slight on you. It's a clerical kind of a thing, Kurt. So that is the reason why. Note that you are not paying Houston taxes, so you're not being taken advantage of, but you are called Houston. I got to go to the Kurt. So Kurt, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes, we want to be located in Houston.
Right. I mean, that is how the post office calls you, right, to deliver your mail, etc. But you're not paying Houston taxes, and you're not in the borderlines of Houston. That's the difference. Okay. Sorry about that, Kurt. We'll talk later. Let's go to Mike. Come on in, Mike.
Yeah, good morning. I just wanted to say that this Saturday, the day after tomorrow, there's a statewide March for Peace in Austin, Texas.
Thank you for that.
If you want to, yes, sir, 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock this Saturday. What a better way to spend your Saturday than to make a nice drive up to our state capitol and march for peace. 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock this Saturday, the day after tomorrow. Please, everyone listening, spread the word.
Real quick, Mike, Mike, real quick. Do you have a website?
I don't have a website, but I think if you search November March in Austin, you probably can find it.
I will do that and inform folks.
Yeah, and when you announce your website,
yes.
From here on the listener side, I can't understand what it is. Could you please slowly tell us what your website?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Actually, go to this one. politicsdoneright.com. politicsdoneright.com. I'm sorry. Sometimes I get too excited as I speak.
No, thank you very much. And I know you don't realize what it's like on the other side, the listener side, all the time. But thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so kindly, Mike. Okay, let's go to Moses. Come on in, Moses. And I don't have a lot of time, Moses, so please knock me out, Moses.
I don't have a lot of time. I'm not going to. I'm going to say kudos to all the people, the Americans throughout all the city and the country who are now wide awake and seeing more and more. They are beginning to push, and they are woke, and they are beginning to push all of the mess of the Republican society. And on the Joe Biden thing, let us wait. Let us wait. Joe Biden is standing there like Moses. There's a lot he cannot do. There's a lot he cannot do because a lot of mess has been done, and it was not done by him. So that battle is not his. That battle is not his. It is of a higher power. And that's all I have to say. Have a blessed day.
Thank you so kindly, Moses, for your always wise words. Let's go to Brian, line number 2. Come on in, Brian.
Yeah, Sheila Jackson Lee is the person that said Neil Armstrong planted a flag on the surface of Mars. Yeah, that tells you how smart she is. She also says that there's a North and a South Vietnam now. Yeah, that doesn't work too well, does it? As far as Sheila Tlaib, she took a constitutional oath to defend this Constitution of this country, not another country. She was censored for a reason, wasn't she?
Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, the answers are quite simple. I mean, number one, there's not one time that Miss Tlaib made any attempt to do anything but to honor her country, which is the United States of America. She's a born citizen of America. It's not even like me. I'm naturalized. She was born in Detroit. She's a very good American, and as a good American, she sees that America should treat all, no matter every kind of person equally. That censure that she received was just a political act by people who were, well, I won't get into it. When it comes to Sheila Jackson Lee, I have made statements, just again, bad statements, not even close to what many on the right has made. We should kind of look at putting bleach in your blood and that sort of stuff. If you really want to talk about, Sheila is a congresswoman. You had a president wanting to put bleach into somebody's blood, and you still love that president, my dear Brian, and you still want that president to serve, my dear Brian. So I don't think there. Hold on, hold. I made you speak. I made you speak uninterrupted, sir. That's what we do here at Politics Done Right. All right. So, therefore, whenever you make statements like that, my dear brother, it shows we all have biases, but you show more than a bias. You show something that is a lot more sinister. Continue now, sir.
So which president wants to put bleach in other people's blood?
That was Donald Trump, who asked if that's something we could do. Also put light into somebody's body to cure. I mean, we can go statement after statement, man. The person that you like for president, the statements that he makes an elementary school student knows better, sir. But anyway, I gotta go, sir. I gotta go. We'll talk tomorrow. I gotta go. Anyway, folks, so let me throw it real quickly to the control room and then back to Neil. Control room.
Very lively show this morning, and Egberto, super job. Jack, got some wisdom for us?
No, I was just real busy answering calls, and you had like 13 callers, 12 or 13 callers today. Congratulations, Egberto.
Thank you, my brother. That is just because we have great guys like you and great guys like our callers and listeners. And of course, there's Neil Aquino from the Houston Democracy Project. Close me out real quickly, Neil.
Great. Thank you to the geniuses and Egberto for allowing me the privilege to be on. Thank you for the many callers. Election day is December 9th. There's a lot of at-large races we'll continue to talk about. We got to focus it all. The Houston Democracy Project. The Houston Democracy Project. Please give it a look.
Thank you so kind of folks. First of all, I want to give a big thanks to Melody Praise Wicks is in the chat, and we have a lot more folks in the chat. I think I saluted everybody. J Ray in the chat as well. Anyway, thank you guys for being here. I love you all. Love the entire world, man. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics and Rent, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your government